thanks for having me on, man.
Hey,
Appreciate the interest and reaching out.
yeah. Appreciate having you for sure. And I understand that you're on tour right now.
Been on tour. I'm about to leave for Europe. Got off a few days off this week, and then leaving for Europe a week from yesterday on Thursday. Or actually, I'm sorry, no, we're a couple gigs up in Seattle, and then Telluride, and then Europe for a few weeks, and that's with Say Shishi, which is a band that the Orgone rhythm section is the backing band for it. So yeah, so you
Right
know,
on.
keep
That's
them busy, keep them busy.
sounds like a fun show for sure, for sure. Well,
Yeah.
welcome to the show, and so happy to have you, man. And get into it. I love your music. It's just so natural and funky, and just so like it's just so it. That's the first thing to come to my mind. Natural, funky, like it's amazing.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Tell me about your beginning influences. I mean, what did you start off, listening to growing up? Who were some of your influences?
Well, I started playing guitar as when I was 15. So, at the time, I was definitely metalhead, and just a lot of Maiden and Slayer. Kind of all the early thrash guys, Metallica, but all those mid '80s albums were really a huge part of why I wanted. I don't know, just I wanted to play music. I think my friends, my buddies and I were all into that, and few of them were already playing instruments. That really was kind of wanted to get in on that in the mix there. And once I picked up the guitar, started playing, and was deep into that, and just as a nature of be picking up guitar and guitar magazines and discovering other things, and that kind of just starts evolving into classic rock, and you start digging into that, and then the roots of that, and blues rock, and and that's kind of the foundation, especially as I don't know, that's foundational for so much of from blues. Then you start coming back around, and then you have R&B and Southern soul and all your stack stuff, and then just kind of naturally evolves from discovering soul music, and then funk and the meters, and and once I discovered funkadelic and the meters, it was it just it's captured. It just I fell in love and was absolutely enthralled and captured, and still chasing it.
Man, that could do it. I mean, when you said funkadelic in the meters, I mean, yeah, that's enough for a full funk conversion for sure, man. Two great bands, very interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of those are the beginnings for sure.
Yeah, no, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I met the keyboard player Dan Hasty from Orgone. We met when we were both kind of in our later teens, and I was deep into that, and kind of got him involved, and introduced him to a lot of music that I was into at the time, and and that was just kind of started a relationship that's just gone on and evolved, and we eventually started Orgone, but 10 plus years later, and so it's been cool to have with Orgone, that it's a lot of musicians in it. We've kind of grown and developed together. I remember when we discovered we'd already been playing, and we were already into the kind of the all the foundational soul and funk stuff, the James Brown stuff, the JPs and your Sly Stones and Cool the Gang, and it's the whole run of all that early '70s stuff. And when you discover something like Fela Kuti and Afrobeat, well, Roy Ayers, Ubiquity stuff, where it's it's not the same, but it's a little evolved differently. And it's been my point being, I guess it was awesome discovering that together as a unit, as a musical unit, and everybody kind of digs into the aspects and really just work at it. And we were just bound and determined to to play cover some of those songs and sound like the record, play it like the record. To really we set out to be able to just get the tones, and I think that was such a part of it, and the touch, and I guess that's still working on. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So is that how it started? Kind of like covering some of the
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's kind of the typical. I don't know. I was seems like anyways. You get together with friends, and it's like, oh, you have songs that you really love that you would just want to play. I think we had that as a collectively of wanting to do it together, and most importantly wanting it to do it well. We have a pretty high standard of homework, and and of really like getting inside a thing, and as much of the little things, little details and nuances that make it so cool to us anyways. But that was a lot of pride, and that's how we developed that it was definitely had a high standard of wanting to be able to at least somewhat recreate some of our favorite type of stuff, but to really we want it to sound like a record live in a room,
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, what kind of places were you guys playing? The original
at that time we were young, so it was just we were. I was at the time in the gigging, so after we started Orgone, we've been in the cover bands before and stuff, so we all had some experience in learning songs and playing them in different groups, and just working the typical working bar band kind of stuff. But yeah, just bars. There was really what put the band together, what really got the band. Where we started cutting our teeth, we were just gigging around Los Angeles as much as we could, and it was just the smallest whatever gigs. There was a corner bar called the Scotland Yard Pub. It's a neighborhood bar in the West San Fernando Valley, and
yeah,
we were good friends with the owner's son, and he was managing Thursday nights, and we kind of got the idea. It's like, hey, let's just set up in the corner on Thursday nights, and and see what, and that started a regular thing, and I think we did that gig for like 3 years in a row without barely missing Thursdays, and that was pretty crucial, and just performing and kind of tightening up the just things, and having the hours, logging in the hours, and and then we're just doing those kinds of gigs all over LA, just whatever, to whether it's 5 people or 50 at the time, not big crowds, just kind of. We used to play out in Venice Beach at this place called the Venice Bistro on Sundays.
Right on.
That was didn't pay, barely paid anything, but it was fun. It was a fun gig to be at the beach in Venice on every Sunday, and be playing music right off the boardwalk there, there was I definitely have a lot of nostalgia for that time. There was definitely, a lot of some good feelings, and people loved it. And to go play, Booker T and the Meters for people that weren't expecting it or didn't even know the music. And I think we definitely took that to heart. That was kind of at the time, especially this crazy Spotify and all that. That was like we were championing something that people just weren't aware enough. They just haven't heard it. They don't know. So
yeah,
it was a way of sort of having a purpose in it, and kind of and wanting to do it well. Really.
Well, I could see it working. I mean, anywhere, but especially in Venice.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. It was awesome. There were some epic Sunday afternoons there for sure, in terms of just vibes and some really special moments.
So from there, how do you transition into your originals? You probably jam out on the covers and
just rehearsals. Those were the days when we're pretty dedicated and had the time. We're a lot younger and could rehearse a lot. So, you start noodling with things at rehearsals, and that started developing into, I could think it's a natural progression that, once we're spending so much time learning stuff, and it just start having an idea and developing it. And that started just, writing stuff and having some originals to throw in there. and that's the test is will it fly? If we're playing all these other awesome tracks or awesome songs, it's throw you know gotta have an original that's gonna fit in that playlist.
Yeah. That's interesting. No, I could totally see what you're saying because you got these covers that are killer. And
Yeah.
you're like, we're going to do an original, but this has got to, it's got
I can't
got
help the ball.
to kick just as hard as the cover.
Yeah, in theory, that's definitely the working theory for that. So, but it was fun, and we really enjoyed writing together, and that started on a course that's still going, and it's developed and still it's funny because it's like sure it's developed and it evolves and whatnot, but it's in one sense it's also still pursuing that same initial thing, getting that a sound right or a tone or something to hit the way that a certain record hits or how that feels, and lifelong pursuits.
Yeah, I could see that because you guys have such quality sound and production. I could see you guys really like being intentful on like you want the right guitar sound, you want the
For
drums
sure.
way like is it hard to get that sound because I can tell what you're going for. Is it hard to reach that sound?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I think over the course of all the years, it's come to learn that the pursuit is good, but you're never going to replicate something like that. That's there's a beauty in that because that's what makes it so a time and a moment and unique to a thing. But it also forces you to recognize and understand those things, and then a natural thing kind of develops out of that. It's like you're never going to be able to copy someone's art, but the inspiration and the pursuit of that is going to force some development to happen, I suppose. That's the way it seems, but yeah, it's hard. It's sometimes it's even with the same equipment and all this, you find out what guitar was used with amp, and it's still never got it's still a player, and the fingers and the feel of it's touch is so much a part of it, and that's what makes our heroes so great.
Yeah. But especially in this day and age, because you guys just have such a cool sound. I can imagine it's like, okay, you're really trying to get that analog vibe to it. Is that
For
hard to
sure.
pull off with digital or?
Yeah, I think it's. Digital technology's evolved so fast and incredibly, and you can do anything basically. It takes more time to get that kind of feeling digitally, I feel, or in my experience, anyways. So like drum sounds, even if we're talking about that at its basis, and so many drums are such an important. The way the drums sound in those recordings is such a crucial part, and you can achieve that digitally, and you can do it decently, and you can do it well. It takes a lot more effort and work, whereas record that same drum kit. It starts with the actual drum kit. It's got to sound, like be tuned nice and sound cool. But same drum kit going to tape, it cuts out all that extra work you end up doing to, yeah, or in my experience, all the work I do in a computer trying to, when I record it digitally, it's that you're trying to get it to sound like if it was recorded to tape. When if you circle back around and just do it to tape, then that saves you all. It's a lot of time and effort, to get it to warm it up and get it to sound. And tape just sometimes it does things you don't expect that are a nice surprise, and that's really what there's a certain I don't, not to overly romanticize it, but there is a quality to the physical aspect of the physical process of these electrons burning onto a piece of acetate or something, like with film or same kind of thing, that there's something about the light hitting this that piece of film and the way that reacts to it that gives it some extra something that it's you can feel it.
Yeah. What is it about it? Because it just feels like that analog vibe. It's warm and it's just so, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a sound to it that's really pleasing. And some of it, Yeah, in a basic sense, it's the things that, I mean, for us, if being fans of records that all came out in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it's like, well, that's all that stuff was, part of it is that, well, that's how it was done. And, so that's definitely part of it. Also, there's a certain effort, extra effort that you have to make to get it good on the tape, that kind of have to capture it right and play it right. And, there's less, I mean, with my production, I ride both where I'll do as much to tape as I can, but edit, there's a beauty to the ease of digital, messing around with that you can non-destructively edit and play with things and fix things and, till forever. I mean, you can go, how deep do you want to go? It'll allow that. But there's a certain amount of simplicity and decision making and just kind of here, like that's the sound, and that's what it is. And I think that's kind of part of it. Just forces a focus out of as a medium, it forces a focus out of you.
Yeah. No, I could. How do you know? Like, how do you know when you're working on a song? Like, okay, that's like we got it. Let's make sense out because, like,
there's a point. And this is just from experience that diminishing returns. There's a point when you can start feel that it was like you had a feeling that's now starting to get lost. So if say in a performance as a rhythm section or something as a group when we're recording, that's certain there's a freshness, and then it gets tighter, and then you can everybody start thinking and trying a lot harder, and then there's a point where it hits where it's kind of post that, and then now it's starting to lose a little something, and then you start losing that freshness, and I think for my taste anyways, and it's usually in that, and you start gauging and being able to see that it's like, oh, that was good, or where it's real. It's not about perfection, but I think it's about for me, what I like is just feeling something that's true, where it's like, oh, that had a good, especially just a moment that was unexpected, or something that just came out right, where it's, when you listen to a playback and it's just a snippet, even if it's only 5 seconds, but it's just a bit where it's like, oh, where it sounds like a record, without getting mixed or anything. It's just a moment that's like, oh, that sparks some kind of memory of some song or a record that you really like, and that's when I guess the way I look at it is like that's a true moment. It wasn't planned out, it wasn't overthought, and it wasn't too it wasn't too, I don't know, wasn't too I'm trying to know what the word I'm trying to think, too forced, I guess.
Yeah, there's some sense of spontaneity to it. Something real about it, and it's it could be the same exact thing we did on a previous take or something, but just where it just the elements were just right, and it has a spark to it that other versions don't, or something like that. So it's fun to kind of get in touch with that, and I think for me and for us, that's that, without really getting into the weeds and trying to do that, there it gets to a point where it's like when things feel good and that felt good, and that's when it's time to walk away, move on to the next thing, before you beat into the ground and start hating it. We keep adding tracks and effects and let's do that, and is it good to walk away, like to walk away and say, okay, why don't we come back tomorrow? It's fresh.
Yeah, always. There's the point. Yeah, that's always the best thing. I mean, I know Miles Davis, I think there was a quote that I've have up in the studio and everything, and said if you can't do it in 4 takes, you can't do it. So walk away. So it's like maybe not that extreme, but yeah, there's definitely you don't want to. It starts to, you start getting burnt out and all that. There's definitely a much better sense to just, and if you say we ain't got it, just to be able to be comfortable with, well, we don't have it, so just walk away, don't even think about it too hard, and just hit it, come back fresh, and,
Yeah.
Something it'll be slightly different and probably for the better in that case, or sometimes we'll come back and listen back to the very first thing we did that nobody was happy with, and that was there's a magic there, and sometimes that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. It does. So, I mean, pretty much with you guys in your career, yeah, I mean, I know that I discovered you on Spotify, and I'm sure
Right
with
on.
the tracks, I'm always looking for new songs, and
Awesome.
I heard it, and I was like, oh man, this is so good, and but when you hear it, I'm hearing the finished product, and I'm thinking, man, this sounds so good, sounds so fresh, and it's funky, and it's soulful. But I mean, tell me about the journey on the way. I mean, it's like you guys were doing shows and you were developing and then you were recording and were there any setbacks on the journey to where you are today where it was like
It's nothing but setbacks.
yeah.
Just keeping the band, keeping it all band together, just keep going, keeping it going. It's nothing but it's music. It's music, which is it's a dedication in a tough industry, and it's nothing but setbacks. So it's just a matter of persevering and working through things and being flexible to make a whatever turn or you have to at any given juncture that and just kind of I don't know adhering, having something in sight. I guess that's what's kept me going, and and obviously, you have it's so much of it is fueled by the passion and love you have for this thing, and and it definitely tests it. When you get into a professional level world and touring and the costs involved, and with Orgone, it's a 8 to 9 piece touring band, so that's a lot of it's a lot of beds, and want everyone to feel taken care of and all that. So it's a juggling and balance, and I mean it's just got to persevere, and always there's always keep growing, developing. Yeah, I mean your lack of any other ways to put it.
No, it's really cool because it's like when I hear a band like yours, I just feel like you are who you are. You're not pretending to be anything other than who you are. It's
Sure.
this real natural setting, and then it's like, how do you go from there to finding your audience, to tapping into this audience that understands that?
So yeah, I'm don't know. Luck. Really, it's just doing. You gotta, it's not even about the audience has to find you. So I think well, our case, it was just we're just kind of head down and just do what we have to do in terms of we just wanted to have I wanted to have or for this band to be something that encompasses everything I love. Like the ideal would be, I'm going to have a band that if I was just a music fan as a younger person that I would hear and it would be my favorite band. And that's what I want us, I mean, it's very self-serving, I think, but it's art. And I think art it's ultimately, right. It's self-serving. That's why we do it, because it's something inherently internal about it. Oh, but yeah, we were so influenced by Poets of Rhythm and the Dap, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings, in the early aughts. They really, I mean, that was amazing and inspiring. And actually, those two, the Poets of Rhythm albums and the Sharon Jones stuff, and really discovering that stuff in the early aughts was because it was it's like, oh, look at these amazing and inspiring. I mean, they're still heroes. They're doing it. They're doing it amazing and they're incredible. And there's people out there, and it's it's definitely a fuel, or fan the fire. Like, yeah, it's there. Like, there's people there that it's that are there to they just whatever, just have to keep putting it out there, and hope that those converge. I don't even know now how, with Spotify and kind of how it's just feels like the Wild West, and such a, you can get so lost so easily. But on another sense, it's also the spectrum is so wide. I don't even think there's genre music fans anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not, that's the thing that, that's an antiquated notion, where, I remember growing up, I was like, oh, that's a metalhead and that's this person, and it's, I mean, we all grow up and evolve, but yeah, there's not, I mean, yeah, that's it. I think like people's tastes, that everything is geared that you can have. There's such a wide spectrum of tastes and be able to discover anything. And, the avenues are all there laid out before you, for better and worse. Um, but doing your best, doing our best and hope that people will, it'll attract the people who are into this kind of thing.
I love your answer, and I think it's so true. It's like it is self-indulgent, but at the same time, it's the purity. It's exactly what you said. You are doing what you would want to hear, and that it's like it puts the message out there. It puts out the broadcast, and like that's what attracts people to it. It's
that's the hope. Yeah, right. That's the hope for sure. But at least that's the integrity you can have, that it's like, yeah, well, I mean, if, you got to have a level, you got to have your bar of bullshit that it's like, oh, anything below that, no, I'm not going to do, like in terms of, I'm not going to let that fly or something, as far as you have your own internal kind of bar for that, I think that'll translate, it'll be recognized or heard or felt or something. I don't know. It's basically exactly what you're saying, that it's, you're putting that out there. You're putting the sense of like, yeah, I wanted to have a certain, level of good that I would love or that I love. I mean, I think that's pretty universal for, across any kind of art form.
For sure. And I think also too, it's like at this day and age, you're exactly right in the fact that the barriers have kind of gone away. And it's like you said, I remember growing up, it was like, this is metal. This is hip hop. This goes over here. This goes. Just, you know what? This is just good music.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which also, it seems, I mean, to be a young band or someone kind of just starting out to come in, it seems, it seemed difficult. I guess we'll see. I'll start some new projects and let you know.
Yeah, but I think there's kind of a freedom to it
oh yeah, we're not beholden, nobody has to feel beholden to a certain thing. That it's there's no rules, and that's wonderful. That's always awesome.
And that's what I love about the idea of Spotify. Spotify knows I love the funk, it knows I love soul. It's picked it up.
I gotta admit, as much as I'm as a musician and and just have some issues with Spotify and the business model of it, that friggin' algorithm, some of my Discover Weekly some days, and I was late to the game with that. I avoided it for a good decade. I didn't enjoy Spotify until about 3 years ago, and of course, once I got on it, it's like, okay, I still like I miss my iPod. I miss the days of having like loading up. Oh, I got to get rid of something and then put something on to have, for what my like walking around library is that I always have at hand, But so I started, at least trying what I'm doing, filling my own playlist and then getting it to get to know me or whatever. But sometimes the Discover Weekly is just got it's the whole playlist. I'll just be like, every song, it's just hitting them and things I don't know or never heard, and just this still discovering. And it's ridiculous how much of, no matter what music you're into, how deep you are in it, how much deeper it it goes on a worldwide level of like, there's always going to be just releases through any decade that you never heard of and missed and are incredible
from around the world.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, lately it's been like the Habibi funk and like a lot of that Turkish and Middle Eastern 60s and 70s stuff that has just blown my mind. Of awesome productions and recordings and just inventive and funky and just been really just gritty sounding. Oh man, I I eat that up. I love it.
Yeah, no, it really it's an endless ocean. It really is. And so tell me about the latest album. I mean, the where were you guys coming from on this latest one, and your creativity, and what space were you in?
Um, so Chimera that came out in February. That was, was really it kind of partly was part of it was wanted to. I mean, I think it's got go back to more instrumental roots to an a bit that it's got more instrumentals that are previous. I mean, the band originally started off as a strictly instrumental band, and then for no real reason, just that we didn't know any good singers at the time, and the stuff that we were into was all instrumental stuff. It was Booker T, Meters instrumentals, the JB's instrumentals. It was just that's where definitely we were deep into, but part of it was wanted to have a little bit more of a stripped down thing, so there wasn't really a lot of horns on the record. There's no horns on the record, in fact, no horn section. And wanted to get psychedelic-y and kind of stony, with some of the stuff, and just get back to the New Orleans, the New Orleans, especially the Dr. John the Night Tripper stuff, and the kind of dark edged voodoo things, and yeah, and also swing back to the Afro funk thing. That's such a huge part of what we're into. It wasn't really thought about too hard, but I think as we were kind of recording, and I was as producer, and I was kind of developing some of the stuff and the songs, and collaborating with some singers, that it just started realizing that it wasn't with so much intent, but as it came together, that was like, yeah, no, I want it to be this kind of psyche stony, little bit kind of dark vibe to it, which we hadn't done, and I don't know if we've done it in songs here and there, but as a collection, it just felt like, yeah, this is, be proud of having a cool batch like that. And yeah, we're really proud of the album. It's good. And artwork is awesome. It's a tattoo artist in Santa Cruz that I found, and he just had some amazing pieces. And so it came together, and I really, from artwork to the songs, and some of the collaborators on the album were just amazing. It was really it was kind of kismet with that. It developed into being kind of what felt like somewhat of a coherent vision, and or just a piece that's cool to listen to from top to bottom, hopefully, for anyone other than me.
For many more people other than you, for sure. And for those collaborations, I mean, what's that process like when you collab with a different artist or someone from outside the band? Is it kind of like a unique process?
I mean, unique in that it's unique to to the person that who it is, but it's fun, man. We just get together in the studio, and and if certain tracks will be want it to be for them, if we wrote the music already, or sometimes just get in the room and and without, don't like to have too many things planned out specifically, really at all. Maybe just a vibe, it's like, don't like the spontaneity, especially when at my studio at Killian. It's a funky DIY, really just whole place is covered in burlap, and it's just got a vibe. It's tight, and it's dusty, and it's hot, but some things happen that just sort of it catch a wave. Yeah, and so I don't like to plan things out too, or other than just get together, vibe on some stuff, and hey, let's start playing, or let's start writing, and then and something good just invariably always comes out, or something that we're happy with comes out anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those things develop, and it's always collaborators who want to work with us, and who either they're friends, I mean, at this point it's a lot of longtime friends, extended family, as it were, musical family, and people that we just that I vibe with, and can come in and kind of have similar aesthetics about it, and and everybody's easygoing, so we can be able to to guide each other, or be able to be open, speak openly about like, nah, that's not working, or this is whatever, change it, and get it better, and yeah, it's just there's nothing like it, because the whole point of collaboration is something that's you wouldn't do couldn't, wouldn't, couldn't, or well, it's just better. It's better for the the energies of the people involved. That it's not something any one person could have done. It's only a result of these people who are involved. So there's something special about that. So
yeah, everybody has their unique talent, sound.
Yeah,
and live when you bring someone else in.
Absolutely, yeah, like perfectly said. Yeah,
that's really cool. That sounds like so much fun. So when you guys are done with the album and you first start to play it out live, what's that process like of testing out the new songs and seeing, you're playing and seeing the audience's reaction versus playing in the studio?
Yeah. First it's rehearsals, and sometimes it's learning some of the songs and realizing that rehearsal, it's like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna, for a live set, and we've also done it. We've also kind of dug ourselves into a thing a little bit that it's, it's high energy, not necessarily high energy, but it's pretty intense, set, like our sets, it's dance music. So it's, you want to, grab the, an audience, or at least, get their attention, and, and sort of ramp it up, and try to stir up energy. And, so, it's important to where certain things are placed. If you're going to slow it down, that it's in the right place in a set, in a live set. So yeah, rehearsal, well, sometimes you'll try things and you just know that it's not going to work, and kind of have to abandon it. It's not, at least not for, let's say, the run of shows you're about to do or something. Yeah, so you kind of start working on an arrangement, on a live arrangement for whatever the recorded song is, and then figure out where it's going to work in the set, and and then just start trying it out, to gauge sort of how the feel is. Dan, the keyboard player, Dan, my partner, or one of my partners in the band, is he's a really excellent DJ. So he's kind of a good litmus for reading the audience. He's good at being able to, and his DJ sets kind of like feed off of how, it's always about like what songs hit, and what songs ramp people up, and how do you kind of manipulating, I guess, but basically the energy of the room.
Yeah.
So that's a great, that's a great asset in terms of I definitely rely on him when a song, it's like, where it is in the set doesn't work. We all feel it, we all, you're kind of, you can tell, so
yeah, it's a vibe.
You can tell it's like, it's the spirit earlier in the set that's more part of a ramping up, or this is kind of in the, right after a super hype thing when people need to cool off. It's like they can slow it down and sort of start the next arc. I like to think of it in sort of in acts. You have act 1, act 2, and act 3, and that's a pretty good way for a set to go in terms of like your initial kind of, your initial sort of gambit or whatever. Your first 20 minutes or 30 minutes, or however, say it's an hour set. Yeah, the first 20 minutes. You kind of grab them, you get something in there that hype, and then then the next arc is going to be, okay, now that's your, all your energies, and that middle bulk of like, here's the maximum excitement, and then the end, it's like coming out of that, how do you get to the last arc, and then end, gotta end it strong.
Gotta end it with a bang, right?
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, that's we used to cover, we still do on occasion, but yeah, that was we ended up overusing Funkadelic's Cosmic Slop. That was a good closer for a good chunk of time. Yeah, it's got a big guitar solo, and vocally it's amazing. So then Taryn Hector, the guy who sings that with us, is just kills it. So yeah, gotta have a big end. You gotta have some lead people. Gotta kill them.
I
Gotta
like
leave
how you
them.
said Act One, Act Two, Act Three. That's really cool. It's kind of almost like a wave to the show.
Exactly. No, exactly. Because you gotta have bits where it's like it, whatever. If it's some people need to go get a drink or whatever, what have you, have a second, or yeah, but just in terms of the way things feel, it can't be too high, nonstop high energy the whole time. In our and the way we look at it, anyways, but it's good. It works. So we've had, I mean, and it's not a hardcore adhering to that, but the way I look at it does end up feeling that way,
Yeah.
But and it's made for some amazing shows and some great experiences, for us and for just for shows for people, audience, for as it's a show, so it's it's a feedback circle of, you feed off of the people's reactions and they feed off of you reacting to them, and then so on and so forth. And that's how energy kind of just gets built. Those are the more epic shows. It's, you really kind of, it's just keeps going until everybody's just wiped out and sweaty.
Exactly. And so what would be one of your favorite shows that you remember looking back that's like, man, it was just such a good show. Like you said, you were doing your thing, the crowd fed off you, you fed off the crowd, and you're like, man, this was just a moment in time.
I mean, there's been so many, I mean, we've been touring, we're going, it's a touring band. It's been, since 2007, but so we're talking about coming out 20 years of that. Wow.
Wow.
So others, we've had, we've done all the festivals and had some just epic, experiences. But one, there was one, the first time we played Jazz Fest in New Orleans. There was a last minute pop up kind of, and I forget how. It's something that really came up the day before, and it was it was a quarter bar. I don't even remember the name of the bar, just off of the quarter. And yeah, something somehow, I mean, we're talking about 14 years ago. And it was kind of a last minute thing. And they were like, yeah, just do late night. You guys can start at like 1 a.m. or something, and just like, and it's, pretty bare bones. And the PA was, it was set pretty small, pretty tight space for an 8-piece band. And, we set up and got the word out. And so it was kind of very, very kind of last minute announced, on a just low key show at a pretty small place. And lo and behold, the show night, it's like there's a line of people, it's already packed inside, line of people wanting to get in. And it was just, man, it was just went off. It was, in fact, I think we played till maybe 3:30 or so, and it actually got shut down by the cops.
Wow.
In New Orleans, which is a city that, it's like nothing closes, the bars don't close, clubs. And so it was, that kind of put the capper on it, that I guess it was close enough to residential part, the other side of the quarter, that where there's houses, that there were complaints or something about the band noise or whatnot. But, yeah, so that kind of put, that sort of, where you said moment in time, something really unique and special that was like that, and that doesn't really happen much, where cops have to show up and tell shut the band down at a bar.
New Orleans of all places.
Yeah, exactly. So that gave it sort of that air of special, that, why that came to, even that still comes to mind. That was, I made some friends that night that I'm still, very good friends with to this day, that, it's still considered just one of those epic things, like the irreplicable things that, if we set about to try to do something like that, it wouldn't fly the same way, even it wouldn't come off the same. And it was awesome. And people were crazy and went off. I mean, late night obviously helps, but yeah. And then just to cap it off with the cops showing up, and, right as everybody's dancing and people going off, and just that's the way the show closed. It was pretty memorable.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's wild, man. That's really cool. You shut down New Orleans.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
That's that's a title that everybody gets to do. You know, you shut down definitely a city that keeps it happening. Wow,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
wow,
Some kind of claim there.
that's awesome. So looking back, I mean, you know, going back to your early days, you know, you first started playing guitar and you were first getting into music. If you right now presently could go back in a time machine and talk to yourself about some clue of your future music journey, what advice would you give to yourself? What would you tell yourself?
Oh man, that's a pretty loaded question. Uh, um, huh? That's a tough one, man. I mean, I'm, pretty sarcastic by nature, so I want to say something, but, uh, don't, don't quit your day job. I don't know. No. I don't know, man. Maybe it's just be, advice is just, I mean, maybe that's not to take things too personally and, I mean, to weather it, which, I don't know. I'm gonna have to get back on that one.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty, that's pretty tough, but, I'd probably, oh gosh, probably to get it buy gear back when it was cheap, back when vintage gear, back then would have been a lot cheaper. Buy as much gear as you can and hold on to it.
Get the gear now before it goes
Yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly. You know what, that's what it would be. Buy tape machines, buy vintage keyboards,
Yeah,
vintage amps,
yeah,
because they I mean, and that's kind of it's a rub. It's trying to it's like that stuff just keeps getting more and more expensive, and it's I mean, even synthesizers and some classic stuff where I mean, or microphones, it's just holy grail things that keep getting further and further out of reach, and to the point where it's like, I mean, unless you're loaded, that's it's just who would spend that. So, and I'm glad there's companies making copies and things that are of quality, but that it's kind of a shame that you will never get to some experience I don't know, recording on tape or something, because it's just because it becomes so out of reach, from a cost perspective.
yeah. Who'd have thought? And the way
Yeah.
it kind of comes back around, right? Because
Oh yeah, totally, totally. Yeah,
but they
yeah,
still go back to the original,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Except it keeps getting more and more expensive every time it lose back. uh, so yeah. I mean, it's but yeah,
Yeah. No, the reason why I ask for sure is because it's like I said, you know, I hear your music and I look at it, and I think a lot of young artists sometimes they see, you know, an artist that, you know, or a band that just sounds so good and is just so on the money, and they think to themselves, man, how am I ever gonna get to the, you know, this place of where they're at, where they're just so in tune musically and so, you know what I mean? It's so good, and the people are responding. And what they don't know and what they don't realize in your journey, it's like you said, business is tough. It's not as easy or smooth as it looks from the outside. Everything seems easier to just illustrate that, you know what, it's like, yeah, you're going to have some bumps in your journey, but you know, it's still, it's like, look what you get when you keep
yeah,
going.
yeah. Just be true to yourself and stick to the people who are dedicated. It's not always about the best players, but about or your when you get your mates. That it's like they don't have to be of like it's not about being necessarily like a virtuoso or a best player, but it's just the importance of your buddies who are going to show up, and you can count on, and that's more important than anything.
That is so true, man. That is so true. You know,
Yeah,
because, you're so right. I mean, really, it's about who's going to stick it out and not just this player that might be good or flashy, but it's like who's really gonna stick with it and be a part of the team and go all the way, right?
Sure. Yeah, or go as far as they can. Just I mean, there's always gonna be changes, but absolutely, man. Just some kind of integrity. At least just have loyalty to people that matter to you. I mean, that's all subjective. So
Yeah, yeah, no, that's so true. That's really good advice. That so much helps. So tell me, what's on next on the horizon?
Well, I just finished production on the next Say Shishi record, as well as producing. Well, I mean, this is not Orgone. Well, with Orgone, finished production on the next Say Shishi record, or I'm in the process of finishing that. That's right before we leave for this European tour. So the rhythm section is going to be touring with Say Shishi a bit. As far as Orgone, I've got a couple of 45 7-inch single releases that are going to come out later this year. And I'm started a batch of what's going to be our next record, and kind of not too far into that, but hoping for that to have that for spring, summer next year. And we'll see it's still in the kind of developing, and a batch of songs and finished stuff. There's no, it's I'm the engineer and the kind of de facto producer on all that stuff, and so I'm always recording and always developing stuff with this crew, and got a libraries of things, and so it's just keep releasing music. And we don't have any shows in the books for the coming months because we're busy with Say Shishi crew, but there's going to be a lot of good releases, and hopefully we'll see maybe tour early next year, and then on to the next next record. Just keep the fires burning everywhere, everywhere we can.
Yeah, love it, man, love it. And so yeah, you'll let us know about future shows, maybe in
of course. Absolutely, man. You're based in Washington?
Yeah, based in Los Angeles. Yeah, LA.
Oh, right on. Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. But would love to see it live. I can tell you guys throw down.
Right on. I'll reach out. And we're due for an LA play. We might, I know we've been kicking around the idea of LA is we came up in LA, and it's, it's kind of, and we got to a point where it's, you gotta have to make a play, and LA was a tough city to come up playing music in, I mean, it's to get people to come to shows, and, to cross town, it's like a whole different world, from the West Side to or something, or, oh my God, the Valley. No one wants to go to the Valley. So, yeah. So it's a strange landscape. But I know we've been talking about some low key, so our next big L, we're kind of saving a proper like LA club date, because it's gotta count. But I know we've been kicking the idea of some just, like a residency or a lower key anyways, kind of out, play, just because we haven't played LA in about a year and a half now, maybe 2 years. So that's due. So I'll definitely let you know. We'll see what happens for the fall, with some kind of more stripped down shows, which in my opinion are fun. They're kind of more fun anyways, and get a little more risk involved, and that always makes it more fun.
Yeah, adds to the excitement. Awesome. Well, Sergio, I so much appreciate it, man. It was an honor and a privilege talking with you today.
Oh, dude, thanks. I appreciate you saying that, man. Thanks so much for having me, Jeff. It's a pleasure, man. Made it very easy and conversational, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Love it. This is very inspirational. So thank you so much, man.
Right on, man. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, but definitely let me know about the future shows.
You bet. Absolutely.
And hey, good travels in Europe and all the shows.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, and can you send me any links or whatever once you got this app, and we can pop on socials and all that.
You got it, man. The audience is gonna love it. I'm loving it already, man. I
Excellent.
love your story.
Excellent, man. Well, thank you so much, Jeff.
Appreciate you, Sergio.
All right, brother.
All right, Ben.
Take it easy.
You too.